All right, welcome, welcome, welcome. We're so glad to have everyone here. Sherry, we've missed you. Jimmy, we missed you last week too. And we're all here. And I promise my brain is a little bit more here than it was last week because I realized when we were done, I'd asked the first question on the worksheet from last week, or so I thought. And Amy says, so astutely, she says, could you give some context for that? And I thought, that's kind of a funny question because I had listened to the chapter twice. And I was like, oh, I just wonder where he wants us to go. Because sometimes I find that the questions he asks are alternate to where my brain would be. No, I just started asking questions for the next chapter. So we're going to maybe ask some of the same questions this morning, and it's fine. It's transparency. That was me taking accountability for my actions this morning, actually from last week. Anyway, so we are on chapter 9. Take accountability for your actions. And this makes far more sense this time.
I'm going to hop right in on that accountability word because I had never considered that being accountable and taking accountability were two different concepts, two different ways of thinking. So to me, that was the first revelation in this chapter. And that's one that I've certainly been chewing on and reflecting on.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I would never have differentiated those two. Did that surprise anybody else? Or now if you're hearing it for the first time, does that surprise you? Should we break that down a bit? Sherry, what's the difference?
So his way of describing it is accountability is active and intentional, and therefore taking accountability is an action word. Versus being accountability is a state of being.
So interesting.
Words matter. It is, yeah, it's fascinating. Yeah, I mean, that's me. It's just me.
Well, no, I love how he says this. I love how he gives us the little nuggets in the boxes, like for those of us that just need like those things pulled out again. And he says, take accountability instead of being accountable. Why? Because this process is not passive. Accountability is active and intentional. And like Sherry said, words matter when we actually are understanding of them, right? It changes your perspective.
And like Janelle gave us the perfect example at the beginning, accountability is after the fact. It's owning the outcome.
Yep, I own it.
This is a total diversion. I've been listening to the book Atlas Shrugged. It was recommended. I got it as an audio. I started listening. It is the most, I spent, I don't know how many hours thinking, why would anybody recommend this book? However, I'm now hooked on it. It's hours and hours and hours long. And it's, I hope, imaginary situation. And honestly, it's all about accountability. And almost every page has somebody saying, well, that's not my fault. I couldn't help that. What was I supposed to do? They didn't deliver the ingredients. They didn't deliver the products. Like, how could I deliver on my contract? Like, it's not my fault.
52 hours and 20 minutes. That's how long the book is.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I've had a lot of driving, and I don't know, I think I'm on chapter 2. But I am so frustrated. And so honestly, if somebody says it's not my fault and I couldn't help it, I'm liable to go.
What is this book again? What is it
called?
about?
Atlas Shrugged.
Like shrug your shoulders.
Yep.
Okay. I need just to read this because now I'm curious. It says, Atlas Shrugged is the, quote, second most influential book for Americans today after the Bible, according to a joint survey conducted by the Library of Congress and the Book of the Month Club. This is the story of a man who said that he would stop the motor of the world, and he did. Is he a destroyer or a liberator? Why does he fight his hardest battle, not against his enemies, but against the woman he loves? Huh.
Anyway, if you're not dedicated to listening, don't even start. I would never read it. Like, oh my God.
How thick
Well,
is
although maybe reading's faster, but anyway,
how thick is the book?
I have no idea because I'm listening on audio.
Sorry, I have so many questions, but yeah, like
Anyway, it's a diversion and we're going to go back, but it is 100% lack of accountability and it's a world destroyer. So destroys
And-
families, destroys companies, destroys organizations, destroys governments, every single facet of relationships.
I was just going to say, I mean, the Bible starts pretty much like that. Somebody, right? I'm saying, well, hey, it was the woman. She said,
She did it.
she told me it was okay. I went for it, right? Like, so I think it's, I mean, it's definitely, it's human nature. And you read it on the pages of every TV2, everything around is, that's what people do, right? They, well, you know,
Absolutely.
not going to take accountability for that one. Not my fault. Yeah.
And you know what? It brings us straight back to where we are, right?
Yeah.
Till you take responsibility, you are a victim. And if we go back to the Bible, what does she say? The snake did it. He made me, right? It's not, I did it. It's he deceived me and I ate. And then what does Adam do? The woman you gave me. The woman you gave me. See, not only blames the woman, but he also blames God.
He blames God.
Like he turns it around and he's like, if you hadn't given me her, this wouldn't be a problem. But up until then, I'm pretty sure he was enjoying himself. Just gonna say. And it says victims are passive. Okay, sorry, let me go back. And being a victim is the exact opposite of being a leader. Victims are passive. They are acted upon. Leaders are active. They take initiative to influence the outcome. And I will say that after just a couple of years of doing this business now, I can honestly look at people that I have coached and those who have had huge goals and even good work ethic. If they can't shake the victim mentality, it is the thing that sucks them down into the abyss. If there is one thing that we can find, one theme we can pick out of pieces of our lives, where have I chosen to become the victim? And we can claim victory over those pieces. I truly believe that is the hugest catalyst going forward. And it's exactly what we're talking about. It's the accountability for our actions. And he says at the end, if you listen to it on Audible, because he gives little nuggets at the end, he says, if I had to pick a favorite, right? This is like if he had to pick a favorite child out of the book, right? He said that this chapter is his favorite. Yeah, Darlene.
Hey, so I have a very fresh accountability story from last night, actually.
Oh my.
Yeah. And I guess I was convicted by reading this chapter. I left it really late. I read it last night. And something happened yesterday that's kind of embarrassing, but so and Zeph knows who I'm talking about, my daughter's friend, I had posted a happy birthday wish to our pastor's wife, I thought. So happy birthday, Kim. Hope you have a wonderful day, blah, blah, blah. And later in the day, I got a message from Lindsay's friend that said, hey, thanks, but I have no clue who Kim is. So now I'm feeling very embarrassed and stupid about the whole thing because I had actually missed Jeanette's birthday. And now how am I gonna, make myself not look like an idiot? And I said, oh my goodness, I'm so sorry. Jeanette, yes, Jeanette, happy birthday. And didn't really fully explain what had happened. And then later I thought, you know what? That's not really right. I'm kind of backpedaling here to make it look like I didn't make a mistake. So I messaged her and I says, actually it was, I was trying to post to our pastor's wife. Somehow it accidentally got posted on your timeline and I felt silly because I was late on her birthday that I hadn't posted on. So it was, and I said, honestly, I don't have dementia that I know of. I know that you're Jeanette. But it was just such a weird situation. But I thought, oh boy, I should probably just explain what really happened.
For you.
Yeah.
That would have been so easy to just sort of be like, oh, that was dumb. And just
Yeah.
like leave
Sweep it under the
right?
carpet. Yeah.
You weren't looking at somebody, they weren't like belly to belly with you. You had done your thing, right? But I appreciate that awareness and need to take accountability and responsibility for your words and your actions. I love that that is such a high priority for you that you just couldn't leave it. And I really respect that. That's amazing.
And I really think that a lot of our anxiety comes from that misalignment between our values, which your values, Darlene, is a perfect example, and our actions when sometimes our actions aren't perfect. And that misalignment makes our gut just feel crappy. And often that anxiety actually just shuts us down. Well, then, if I'm going to make a mistake, I'm just not going to do anything. Because if I don't do anything, then I won't make a mistake.
Mm.
And we actually shut down what our values really are, which is to care and share with people. And as we do that, we move even further away from our values. We become even more misaligned and more uncomfortable with ourselves.
Yeah, absolutely. So seeing how uncomfortable we can be if we don't take accountability, why do you think that people choose not to? I feel like we live in a world where there is a serious lack of accountability. For example, I was just out at Bible camp with a whole bunch of people. There are a lot of families, a lot of young families that come out to this Bible camp, and we love going there. But it absolutely shook not just me, but my husband, my kids, like peripherally, how many parents refused to take accountability for their children and for their actions, and how it affected the entire process of the camp. We just were dumbfounded. So why are we afraid? Why do people avoid taking accountability? Just in general. I'm assuming that's Amy. Okay.
And here.
Yeah. Oh dear. I can't even mute her. Amy, you sound like you're underwater. Oh. I can't stop it. Can't stop it. Can't stop it. Talk over her. Jimmy,
we can probably talk over her because I don't think we can hear her anyway.
I hear it anyway. No.
I, well, I think maybe what Amy's trying to say is, I mean, taking accountability means that either A, you're wrong about something, B, it means that whatever's going on in your life that you have to come to terms with, that you're not perfect, that you have to be humble. Maybe humble is the first, like that we don't have it all, and that, right, that the things that we do on a daily basis, we're sinful people, and we make mistakes. I don't know, that's kind of what I'm thinking, but I think but at the core it's sin. I mean, nobody wants to take accountability for their actions. I mean, we see that on a daily basis for everything. And going back to families and kids, the fact that we have a label for everything under the sun now. Well, my child, yeah, he has blank. And not saying that those blanks aren't very important, but I've worked with people that have severe disabilities, very severe disabilities. I've worked with them, and still I would see parents coming in, and the amount of accountability that they gave to that child, still, some of them, it just absolutely blew my mind. If they said, oh, they're trying to get away with that, and they're trying to get, what are they trying to get? Oh, they didn't pick up that thing, and they knew that they were supposed to, right? At the lowest level of some of these people, that they had severe brain, dysfunctions and different things. Those parents still said that person should be able to, even if it was to turn their arm so that they could be more helpful as I was turning them over. And so, we live in a society where the most capable people on earth aren't taking responsibility for the things that come out of their mouth, right? It's across the, right, it's everywhere, it doesn't matter, right? But yeah, we've really done a number to our children by not keeping them accountable for the actions they make.
Yeah. So
Is it possible that it's a reflection of the previous chapter, the authenticity, that we're afraid that if we are authentic and actually take accountability, that someone isn't going to love us because we're not perfect. We're not like, are we getting back into feeling that we're not enough? And therefore, if we can pretend we didn't do it, that would make us enough.
yeah, and my question is, how is accountability and sometimes in our minds linked to shame? How do we incorrectly, where does that happen, where we have this connection with being wrong, with shame, or I think sometimes with accountability, that it's your fault, or that you need to take the responsibility. The person that you were involved with, they know you're wrong, but if you say it out loud, it's worse. Why? You both already know it. It's not a secret, right? But it's the shame piece that I think that we fall into. I think we fall into that grip. I think the other thing, I've been listening to another book by the previous book study that we did by the same authors, Dan Sullivan and Benjamin Hardy. The 10x is better than 2x. And he talks about how we have totally decided that our behaviors are who we are, not a result of our thoughts. And so if we do something to mess up, then we intrinsically must be bad, wrong, flawed, whatever, instead of realizing that our actions are a direct result of thought patterns. It isn't intrinsically who we are.
Yeah, I really like that, what you say there, because I think it goes back to our true identity, like who we really truly are. I think we forget who we are. We think we are what we do. We think we are what we have. We think we are what other people say about us. And we are not what we do, and we are not what we have. I think that's a really big problem. We are supposed to learn from what we do. What we do doesn't define us. I love what you said, because you said, like, we think if we define ourselves as what we do, then we actually we think that we are our thoughts, and we are not our thoughts. You know, when you do something and when you realize that what you did is wrong, if you go back and check your thoughts, you realize that you had a wrong thought. That's what made you do what you do. And then when you change your thoughts, then you'll be able to do something right. But it does not define us. Like, as spiritual beings, we are not what we do. We are just we are children of God, and we are here to learn from our actions. So owning up and taking accountability, I think sometimes we feel like it also becomes like a pride issue. I feel like we get so much. We feel like we if we admit that we are wrong, we feel like other people might think we are stupid, that we are dumb, you know, and we don't want that to happen. But that's not who we are. It goes back to identity, you know, and when you realize that you are not what you do, and you don't define yourself by what you do, then you can easily go back and correct your actions by changing your thoughts. Like, I think it was King Solomon who said, as a man thinks in his heart, so is he. So all I have to do is just to go back in my heart and change my thoughts. The heart, I look at the heart as like my subconscious mind. That's kind of where I store my and everybody stores their belief systems there. So if I want to change my actions, I just have to go back to my heart and then change my thoughts. And then once I change my thoughts, then I can change my actions. But they don't define who I am. Like, it's not intrinsically who I am. So I feel like that's the disconnect that we have there. I really liked what you said. That was just like bang on.
Well, and when you were talking about that, it reminded me of how with what we do in the health and wellness sphere, when we encounter somebody who's very, very ill, and we know that this can help them, and you realize that the issue is they've all of a sudden seeded their identity in their illness. It doesn't matter how much healing can come to them, they still identify as the sick person. There have been studies, people who have even people who work for physical fitness goals, and they lose hundreds and hundreds of pounds. You know, I'm not talking about like getting surgery or, you know, taking medication for weight loss. I'm talking about like getting in the gym, watching your food, doing like all the mental energy that you think would go into that. Unless we are accountable to how we choose to think about ourselves, people will say, I still see myself, even though I'm a size 4, I still see myself as the 300-pound plus person. That's how I see myself.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I had a girl. Sorry.
Yeah. No, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I literally that's exactly what she said. I had a gal who lost quite a bit on reset, and it scared her. She looked in the mirror and she goes, I actually don't know this person. I'm not sure if can handle this person. Like, she said it out loud, and I don't think she even understood what she said it. And then, yeah, she's like, I'll probably sabotage this for sure. Because that is comfort to me, that extra layer.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think it's like it's an ego issue. And ego, like ego, I've made ego into like an acronym. Ego means edging God out or edging grace out. So whenever we edge God out of the picture, or whenever we edge grace out of the picture, then we use force and we really forget who we truly are. And once we forget who we truly are, then we don't want to own up. And we feel like if we own up, then people are going to think that we are not that much. So it's all up. It's almost we're trying to cover our face, and we're trying to maintain a personality that is not really true. It's not really accurate. Instead of just admitting our wrong and then learning, we actually learn when we make mistakes. We learn and grow from our mistakes. They don't make us less than. But if we have a strong sense of ego, we feel like if I admit my mistakes, then I'm going to be less than. People are going to think that I am not what the image that I've kind of like lived up to. So we don't grow. And yeah.
I think that's a great example of why people don't take accountability. So, and as you were talking, in my mind, I was picturing like ego, like creating ego, almost like glass tiles that a person builds in front of themselves to make their appearance look different, right? But it actually, who we are behind all of it is nothing like what we've created for other people, right? And so fear of accountability is somebody may see through it and realize that I'm actually not who the persona of what I've put forward, right? And this is challenging work. It really, really is. And he goes on, he talks about accountability and responsibility work together. High road leaders look at leadership as responsibility. So how is responsibility different than accountability?
So accountability is after the fact. So you do something and then the results of it, that's accountability. But responsibility is like in the moment, like what you so if I, like, as a leader, you take responsibility, you take initiative. So while you're taking initiative and being in the moment, that's being responsible. And then after you do what you're supposed to do and you get the results of it, now you become accountable for what you do.
Yeah. I like the positioning of the words owning the outcome, win or lose, is accountability. That's how he describes that, right?
I thought this little section was pretty fascinating on 3 different fronts. One of them, I listened to, I've forgotten his name, a financial guru, and he gets calls in, and my husband does all the money thing, and he just died, and I don't know anything.
Dave Ramsey.
That's it. And he's like, okay, but now you got to learn. It's now your job, your responsibility, which we advocate responsibility for many, many things. I cook in my house. What do my family want to eat? I ask them on a regular basis. I don't care, whatever. Really? Because I don't find whatever tastes very good. It doesn't fill the belly. But the food still happens. Now that they're older, they do not grumble about what the food is, particularly if I've asked them. We went through a section of time where, oh, I don't want that. That's yucky. I asked, you said whatever. This is whatever. But teaching ourselves that some responsibility exists personally always. And how do we train our children that it exists? And as I was listening to you guys, which all morning has been amazing, and I'm sorry that I blipped out in my little feeding the cat self-service section. But in teaching our kids, the other piece, I haven't been able to actually read the whole book because I keep getting hung up. Everyone Lies is the name of the book. It's written by an FBI specialist. And one of the pieces is when you know the other person is lying, you have to make a choice. And your choice is, do you care? And how important is the relationship that this be resolved properly? We all lie. It's a matter of degrees and it's a matter of connection relationship. But in that, individually, we need to decide. And I have kids. Nobody knows who ate the last of the ice cream when the ice cream container is still in my freezer taken. So I can choose, let it go. Or I can say, until we figure out who is emptying the container, I'm not removing it from the freezer and I'm not buying any more. And it takes a long time and it takes more than one round as we, I think, are moving past that little section to commit for me to personally be responsible, for me to be accountable to the rest of the people in the house that what I've just said goes. I'm choosing to take the next action after being responsible for, I didn't eat the ice cream.
Yeah. I love the list that he has. I know we're like poking along because it's just so good, but this list that's on page 159 and 160 about what they teach in schools, what he teaches, then his nonprofit leadership foundation does to teach in schools. I love this so much. I feel like I need to like make it into an image or a graphic and put it up somewhere where my kids and I, because it's a good reminder, but where everyone can see it, right? And it's not, I don't know, I'm a visual person. Like I could have sticky notes all over the world and have my, writing on all of the mirrors and whatever. It would make my brain happy minus the clutter. But I just think it's great to keep these things in front of our faces because we forget sometimes. And it's not even like a massive forgetting. It's just the little tweaks, right? Right. I will not make excuses. Right. So again, I'm going to reference this book and I don't know if it's for everyone, but this 10x is better than 2x book. Really talking about taking accountability for what you want. Like you're basically getting rid of anything that doesn't completely align with where you're going, right? So this morning, the piece of accountability that I took, I woke up early because I like to listen to, this is what I do before book club, just to pull off the veil. I like to listen to the chapter that we're reading twice so that it is absolutely fresh in my brain because squirrels get in the way. So I like to listen to it twice before book club on Saturday morning. And I woke up early and I thought, you know what? I need to, and I started thinking about this yesterday, I need to be more intentional about the time that I'm on my phone. Now, I find it really easy to allow time to just get sucked away in the morning because I go check on my messages and I go, because like, it's not really that important that I not get out of bed in 5 minutes after my eyeballs open. I can check those things. I thought, you know what? No, today, what's important? What is going to put me towards my goal? So I got up, I didn't open my phone. I went downstairs. Oh, sorry, Darlene. Yes, we will. We'll put them in our chat. How's that? I came downstairs, I mixed up a Slim, and I thought, I'm grabbing my Bible. I'm going to sit down 10, 15 minutes. I'm going to go outside. And before I do that, I'm going to turn on the sprinklers in one zone so that I get that done. So by the time I got here this morning, because I chose to stay accountable and focused to getting the things done that I wanted to get done, I watered 4 zones in our yard for half an hour each. I have a full recipe of cinnamon buns sitting ready to go in the oven right about now. I did my devotions. I listened to this twice. I've done some 10X. I spent time with my dog. I brought a Slim up to my husband. And I thought, you know, there's so many Saturday mornings that I wake up at exactly the same time. And I get a fraction of those things done. Why? Because I allowed distractions to captivate me. And that, if I'm really trying to hold myself accountable, I need to start making the hard decisions and be like, nope, we're getting out of bed. We're not doing this. And I think, because we've got 20 minutes. But the personal responsibility piece is so important. And in some seasons, it doesn't matter to us enough to hold ourselves accountable. And that's okay. Like, our goals have to matter enough in order for you to want to do the uncomfortable things. But I think that just simply means that we need to get super clear on what we actually want and then choose that personal responsibility. Because the consequences of me not being responsible are way more uncomfortable than actually getting out of bed and not looking at my phone. And he does say here, personal responsibility is a success starter.
And I think that leads right into team responsibility, because without personal responsibility, you aren't able to participate in team responsibility. The bottom of page 161, it says either a team is pulling together or it's pulling apart. And without a unified commitment to accountability, there isn't a team. And it reminds me of Janelle's comment that we've all heard really often, is you're showing up for the person beside you. And that's that responsibility of being part of a team and showing up and valuing your contribution irregardless of what your contribution is, because showing up is the first piece of the contribution.
Yeah. It is so important, and it starts with us actually realizing how valuable we are. Even just our presence with each other, right? And he talks about that team responsibility, that if he was talking about the NFL player, I think, I'm just looking here. And he's talking about if you can't be counted on all the time, you can't be counted on some of the time. And I think that's the piece in the team, right? And I'm not saying that you can't step away. You can't be like, hey, you know what? I'm in a season, right? Like, I was at Bible camp this week. I stepped away. Sherry led the team call. Didn't mean that didn't mean that I'm stepping away from being accountable. That's not it.
No, and the responsible piece is, as part of a team, you bring to the team your abilities, your skills, your presence. Doesn't mean that you're doing it all.
Yeah, the other definition I have of responsibility is responding to your ability. So we respond to our ability. So once we know our ability, then we can really respond positively. And it goes back to what you said, Janelle. Like, so we'll basically respond to what we feel like we are really like it means something to us, something of value. When something has value to me, when it's significant to me, then I will want to respond and do something about it. And then with my response, I also couple that with my ability now. So responding to your ability.
Yeah, I love that. And I agree with this so much. Like, responsibility is contagious. We call this the responsibility ripple. When someone steps up to change things, others step up and find courage they had not previously found. It is so much fun to be a part of a group of people who all take accountability and all take responsibility, and the lift is light. And then it becomes joyful work, right? And it is not difficult to want to go and do work when it's joyful, when it's fun, right? Even the hard stuff, right? Like, how many more people are more likely to do something hard if we throw a challenge out? Like, we have a summer accountability group. Sherry, I need to get you in there. We have a summer accountability group, and I said, hey, your challenge today is to do a reel. Well, would you have done it otherwise? Would you have, like, sometimes, no, Linda's like, no, I would not have. Thank you very much. And Amy actually, and I kind of mini challenged her, and I wasn't sure she was going to do it, but she took my reel and she did her own, and it was great. But would you have done that piece had someone not challenged you? Was it hard still? Yeah, but you were excited about it and there was joy behind it. And that's where doing the business that we do is so much fun. Like, yeah, we're going to do hard stuff. We're going to do it together. And it's almost like joy in the suffering. If I want to take it that far. I mean, is doing a reel suffering? No, it's not. But it is making you do something that is out of your comfort zone. Or encouraging, not making you, because we're not holding your feet to the fire, but encouraging you to do something that's uncomfortable together in a group of people. Because you're like, hey, they're uncomfortable, but they didn't die. I'm going to do it too. Hey, look, I didn't die. And then it's the credibility thing, right? Like, he talks about that, right? Accountability builds your credibility. And he's talking about, it's a little bit different, but he's basically saying, like, when you are, when you keep yourself accountable, you start to build personal credibility within yourself, and you believe yourself when you're going to start setting these goals. She's like, yeah, I will actually do that because I did that before.
I think an area for me right now that I'm really trying to work through is staying accountable to the daily actions that in my mind, and it kind of goes back to that. It goes back to, yeah, our thoughts, right, about who we are, right? But just some daily accountability. Like, I am daily trying to envision what 6 months from now that Jimmy Lou is working out on a daily or every other day person. Like, I'm trying to use, as we are trying to help people, I think, and we talk about that 6-month version, that's kind of where I am with getting active. And I've noticed for myself that, right, it's taking that accountability of where I'm at with my weight. It comes back to so much of it is just my inactivity throughout this last year. Yes, I can say all the things. Oh, it's been stressful. Oh, I've had losses. Oh, I've had, cancer 2 years. Oh, I'm perimenopause. I can say all those things. It doesn't change the fact that where I'm at, I don't like my body. I don't like where it's at. It needs to be stronger. I know it needs to be stronger because as we age, we lose muscle mass. So I have to take responsibility for that. And only I can do that. and I have to look at myself in the mirror and say, you're telling me that you don't have time in the day to do this simple action? Yeah, right. Yeah, right. You know, but again, this is the world we live in, right? And we want to blame everything else, right? And we're so used to doing it that, oh yeah, they're like this because, you know, they grew up really in a hard home, right? No, I get it. I get it to a certain point. But where do we help people to see themselves that they really can be overcomers?
What's the better option? What if they see themselves as overcomers? Won't they be happier?
Yeah.
Right? But we can't control the humans.
No.
Mm-mm.
I can't even control myself. That's a whole.
But that reminds me kind of, Jimmy, of that. The best excuse is the worst excuse.
Right?
Like, and the more you track yourself on the excuse road, the more you believe it. Not my fault. I can't help it.
It's the woman you gave me. Right?
It's the snake you made.
Right? Oh my gosh.
On page 166, it says ability implies repeatability and accountability. I underlined that one because it was a really big reminder that if, like Jimmy Lou says, I can do it one day and I can do it 1 week, that means I can prove to myself that I can repeat that. But saying it out loud and having other people, like the book says, I'm sorry, I don't trust you. I also don't trust me. I need that external piece. As much as many of us can be internal on motivation, that external and consistency keeps us going. And fascinatingly, Jimmy Lou, my 12-year-old son started doing sit-ups with his arms across his chest. And he said he could hardly do 5 at it. Now he can do 10 at night, no problem. So he asked his mother to do a sit-up with her arms across her chest. I'm like, okay, you have to understand there's physical differences between boys and girls. There's a lot of physical differences between a 40-year-old mother of 4 and a 12-year-old boy. Then I was suggesting that doing some push-ups in addition to sit-ups, he would notice a difference in 2 weeks in his chest muscles. And he's not so sure on that. But that means that we get to do it together, which also helps me work on some of my strengths and making progress.
Be careful what kind of accountability buddy that you built in, right? Because I here, okay, so Amy has said this. So, hey, here, y'all can be my like next level accountability. Amy, I'm going to ask you about your sit-ups and your push-ups. But I realized that the gym I go to, heavy quotation marks in the season I'm in, the gym I'm supposed to go to has free memberships for teenagers for the summer. I have 2 teenagers who need to move a little more in summer. I have 2 teenagers who have a mother who need to move more in the summer. And so today, I think we're going down to the gym to sign them up for their free memberships and my accountability buddies for the rest of the summer. Oh, joy. Awesome. And you know what? It's not going to be perfect. I'm going to say that right now. This is not perfection. I am going to say, hi, you know the parts you don't want to do? I want you to do one of those every time we come. So the little circuit thing that looks like a curves, everyone remember curves from like back in the day? I know that they still exist. They have a circuit at the back for those of us who aren't so smart with the gym equipment. And we can just put it on autopilot and we can go and do the circuit, and then we can get on our treadmills and leave happy and sweaty and feel like we've actually accomplished something and still know nothing about gym equipment. That is the plan. And that leads us to everyone needs to be accountable to someone, doesn't it now? And I think maybe we need to say, nobody needs to be accountable. Like, people can choose not to be ever, and they can live their lives, and the same things apply. Death and taxes, right? Only two things that are absolutes. However, we can choose accountability if we want a better life for ourselves, and if we want to model better habits for our children, because we are leaders in our own homes and in our communities, all the things.
I like it when your kids get old enough that the things that you shared with them, then they become a thorn in the side later on when they come back to you and like, Mom, didn't you say that it's not good to eat that? I see that you ate that. Oh, right. You're right.
That okay, Jimmy, you're convicting me. Could be because one of my daughters the other day, she's like, well, I just assumed that because Mom was eating it, it was healthy for me, so I just decided to eat it. I was like, oh, okay. We need to
Yeah, and if you think it comes back to you with kids, wait till you have grandkids.
So,
It's like 10x.
so Grandma, how many times have we sat in the sauna this week?
1.
Hey, that's great. Sorry, I keep nagging on her. She has a great sauna, and I'm like, could you use it, please, for me?
Fun.
I do want to tell you guys something, and this is a little bit off, but not really. You guys, these book studies are really legacy things that we're doing. Totally. So my stack of books that I have up there, when my son came home for the weekend, he is just a natural entrepreneurial person, and he loves good health. Like, he is the kid at camp that when somebody's sick, he's like, hold on, I think I have zinc. You need zinc. Like, Jeremy's like, he's you. But he grabbed about 3 books off my shelf. One of Maxwell, what's the classic one about getting to know, it's the people book. Oh my goodness.
How to Win Friends and Influence People?
Yes, he grabbed that one. He grabbed another book, and the dude took them with him to camp. Like, I'm just like, and I was like, who is this kid? But he's totally, yeah, he's really looking at these books. So listen, you know what? Sometimes you think what you're doing today doesn't matter. It does, because soon enough, your kids hopefully will take the things that we're learning, even the books that are still sitting on your bookshelf. They may just pick them up. They may, by the time they're 20, might think that maybe there's a few things that Mom says, maybe the right road to go down. Anyways, but yeah, I was like, who is this kid? And wow, I'm so proud of him.
Those are good mom moments.
They are.
Do your heart good.
They are.
You feel like you wish you could like transport yourself back in time, like to those like broken on the bathroom floor moments where you're like, hey, look, the nugget is coming. It's coming.
Yeah, totally. If I could tell that to any young mom, like, please remember that this child is a gift, and that treasure this child and help them to grow in the way that God created them, right? Not in what you think. Yeah. Probably totally getting off, but another book that's really good if you have little people who are strong-willed and probably have a lot of energy is I think it's called the High-Spirited Child, something like.
Yes.
Do you know what I'm talking about? Okay.
Sharon's like, I've read all of the books.
That's a really good book. I think it was very eye-opening to how I need to train Josiah, because he was my kid that never did anything that anybody told him to do, walked the other direction. So So, am I correct on that, Sharon? Am I saying the title right?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good memory. It's like 20 years ago. Yeah. Okay.
So we're almost at the end of our time, but we want to kind of wrap this up with his last thought in the chapter, and that is the pathway of taking accountability for your actions is courage.
I actually loved the line where if we were held to that standard as children, we're more likely to uphold that standard ourselves as adults. And it's the courage as a parent to uphold your child to the standard. That means, like Jimmy describes, her son is picking up the books.
And if we weren't held to that accountability when we were children, we have the ability to change. Our brains are like, there's neuroplasticity. It's malleable. We can reform those habits, right? Like, we don't have to identify as our past actions, like Zeph was talking about. We are not what we have done. We are far more than that. And we can start with today, and we can start with the people who are currently around us, even if our children are grown. We can draw new lines. It's okay. But I so appreciate all of you and your input, and that you were courageous enough to come after this is a scary chapter, but so appreciate you. And your authenticity, gold star on the real world actions from the last chapter. Good job. Next week, we are going to be on Live by the Bigger Picture, chapter 10. Other things that are going on, don't forget, and my office still has been torn apart, so I don't have my book right now, but the little book that we're doing, that we have the rubies. Anybody have it?
Mine's at the table.
Mine is here somewhere. Someone have it, the yellow and black,
Yellow.
yellow and black one.
I'll go grab it.
I'm surprised that none of us have it sitting like right here. I had to tear my desk apart before I left. Oh, there it is. See if Sherry or I get back first.
Build.
Are those recorded? Because I missed last Tuesday.
I have a feeling they are live in
Okay.
We're live in the group.
study group.
I think so.
We'll have to look
Okay.
at that. But we've got Build to
Yes,
Last.
they are in Team Awesome Book Study Group, and they keep updating the posts so that they're linked. So you
All
just have to
together.
find the one post that has all the weeks together.
Perfect.
Okay.
The teeny tiny little book, supposedly best industry book that people have ever read. We will put the other books. I'll put the 10X one in our chat. If you remember, if you recommended a book, put it in the chat. Darlene would appreciate it. Everyone else would too. Have a great week. We'll see you on Tuesday. Yeah, that's all for today. Take care, guys. Bye.